Hi everyone! Today we're going to be converting this 12 by 12 by 18 terrarium into a crested gecko habitat that will include some isopods and some springtails. It should be fun, got lots of ingredients to put in here, and it should be a great habitat for our little super Dalmatian crested gecko that's going to be on its way this Wednesday. So I'll post updates once he's here and in this enclosure. Meanwhile, let's get everything set up.
Okay, so we have pretty much all the items ready to go into our terrarium. We have a background, we have a thermometer, hydrometer, we have of course the enclosure, have some sphagnum moss, some dried wood, that's cuttlebone. Then we have basically a screen mat that's going to separate our hydro balls from our substrate. We have some pieces of wood, some bark, some substrate. We have a few succulents. We have some leaves, some moss, some fake plants. As we know, crested geckos love to hide and be hidden. And then I have a fern. And then we have our hydro balls that have been cleaned and mixed in with some lump coal. And those will go in first. But before I start, I'm going to give this terrarium a good wipe down, just some paper towel and some water, and give it a good scrub. Give this a good spray down. Always good to clean out your habitats before you set something up. Give it a good wipe down, a good cleaning. Don't use any harsh chemicals. Water is usually sufficient with a paper towel. Get any residue off the walls. If it's a brand new, this terrarium was used in the past. It was cleaned out completely when I received it, but you always want to make sure that it's really well clean and free of any kind of soap residue or anything that could harm your animals. Okay, that's great. It's happened. My files, some of my files got corrupted, and I'm unable to show you all the steps involved in the setting up of that new terrarium, but I'll take you over to that terrarium. I'll go through sort of how I put it together, and yeah, hopefully this video actually makes it through. Okay, so the bottom layer here is all the hydro balls. There's about an inch of hydro balls at the bottom. That allows water to collect there and for good bacteria to grow. On top of the hydro balls, as I said, in my hydro ball mix, I add some lump coal. Coal is just a great filtering system. On top of that layer is my mesh, my nylon mesh. It's basically like screen door mesh. That's to prevent or to keep out a lot of the substrate from mixing in with the hydro balls. So you lay down your mat. Then I added about 2 inches of substrate that I mix on my own. My substrate is comprised of some peat moss, some organic soil, some sphagnum moss, some lump coal, some sand. Yeah, a bunch of ingredients that are great for the soil and it enriches the soil. Great for the plants. And speaking of plants, let's open up and have a look here. So we have a few succulents. I'm not exactly sure of their names. I just think they're pretty. So we have a succulent right here and one over here. And then we have a fern in the back, all live plants with some forest moss and some sphagnum moss in the back. There's some leaf litter, some bark for hides for the isopods, and then again a branch for the gecko to rummage up and down. And then we have some fake silk leaves in the back, just to provide another area for the gecko to hide. Of course, they like it to stay dark during the day, of course, and they come out at night. So during the day, I do turn on the lamp just to give light to the plants so that everything grows nice and healthy. And of course, the gecko can go hide in the back to escape from the light. So that's my 12 by 12 by 18 Exoterra habitat for a crested gecko male Dalmatian that'll be arriving in a few days. I think it turned out quite nice, and I think you should be quite comfortable in that setup. All right, so let's move on to my other setups here. Here's another crested gecko Exoterra terrarium. Sorry, the light's not great. It's a 18 by 18 by 24. I have a male pin crested gecko in there. His name is Zed, and he's about 1.5 years old. And this terrarium here, I have 2 whites tree frogs. And their habitat is set up fairly the same as the crested gecko habitats. You might notice some pieces of carrots in some of the enclosures here. That's just extra food for the isopods that are inside as the cleaning crew. Give them something additional to eat. Next, we have, let's get a focus on that. Okay, so another terrarium. This one here is an 18 by 18 by 18 terrarium, which houses my red-eyed tree frog, which you can see on the wall here, nicely tucked away. That's pretty much his perching spot during the day, and then he's all bright-eyed in the evening searching for food. Next we have sort of an oval shaped terrarium. Basically the glass is bowed out in the front. It's rounded in the front and straight in the back. A little bit of a glare there because of the light, but I think you get to see that. And you can see my pinned female just sort of, actually she's sound asleep on those leaves. Let's see if I can get that in focus. There we go. There she is. She's just chilling out on some leaves. And then my final terrarium is, I made this, try to get the light out of the way. So I made this, it's out of a cabinet, an old, basically a storage cabinet that just had shelves in it. There's a bottom and some, a drawer there. And I decorated it to look like sort of a a Jurassic theme terrarium with some live plants. We can see a skull up there, a raptor skull up there. In the back we can see some dino eggs. And yeah, I sculpted everything out of foam, the background out of foam, and covered it and sealed it. I added about 6 inches of substrate and planted some cool plants, some succulents and tropical plants in here. And I do have a little bit of an aquarium, a fish tank. I think it's only a 3-gallon fish tank at the back with some shrimp. And I put a screen on top of the water so that if any of my geckos do end up in the water, they can easily escape. That also helps raise the humidity. This terrarium is also equipped with 2 nozzles for misting the aquarium as needed. I have that on a timer, and that's underneath here. And a quick push of the button and that starts the cycle. I start it up at night before bed, and that'll give them a fresh stream of water every few hours so that they can hydrate. I also leave water dishes within the enclosure for them to have access to water anytime they like. Also have a fogging machine, which is pretty amazing. You turn that on and basically will send humidity or a bunch of fog within the enclosure, and that is a great way to raise the humidity if you need to. I don't need to very often. There's lots of humidity already in there, but if ever I do, I just need to flip that on for 30 minutes and we're good to go. So yeah, those are my 6 terrariums with that latest one that we created in this video. This is the smallest one, the 12 by 12 by 18, which will have an inhabitant in a few days. I'm very proud of this habitat. This terrarium that I designed myself was my first build, and I think it turned out quite successful. So that's the video today. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.